I understand it because if I can only use your instruction because you're there explaining it to me and I can't understand it and take it with me and make it portable, that's not instruction. That's just kind of therapy, right? It's like manual therapy that a pitching coach is doing on you. So the scientists, while I think they're probably the most right in all these four areas, it's a big challenge for them to make it user-friendly enough for the everyday dad, player, and coach to use. And maybe they don't care. I think some of them, that's just their market. They just want to talk to the higher level professional, full-time pitcher. That's fine. That's fine. But for me and for baseball dads here, my allegiance is to you, and I want to make sure that I give you the information so you can select the right person. The number 4 is the internet pitching coach. Now, I've been, as I'm a pitching coach and on the internet a lot, but I think it's more the social media coach. There's the advent now today of these 30-second, 1-minute clips that show up on Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat and YouTube. And when it's all edited together, it all looks great. And it looks great. And I respect all these guys. I really do. I respect their passion for the game. I respect what they do. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people get swayed by looking at 10 seconds of somebody throwing a ball. And they look at kind of these short little things and think, wow, that's amazing. And they kind of move in that direction. And the problem we have is that our email subscriber list, about 280,000, every day we send out a new newsletter issue. So you can imagine how many replies we get back. We kind of find out what happens on the flip side. We hear the stories of what happens on these things, or these totally extreme programs that are out there. So again, watch out for the traditional coach who just kind of throws a bunch of stuff, the talent coach who just puts his playing career out in front, the scientist who just can't make it user-friendly. Watch out for the social media coach who just kind of shows you the quick little highlights and maybe their program is too extreme. So what do you look for now? So I'm going to tell you that the first thing that you want to look for, there's really no order to these. I shouldn't say the first thing because there's really no order because I think they're all kind of together. I think they're all like number one on the list. Number one is, do they have a network? So what I mean by a network, if you listen to the last podcast, there's a lot of issues that I can't solve for you as your pitching coach. If you've got a jammed up angle, you got a tight muscle, you got a weakness, you got a muscle imbalance, you got something going on in your system that's preventing you from executing the instruction that I'm trying to give you, then I am not your solution as a pitching coach. The solution as your pitching coach is a medical professional. It could be a doctor if you're in serious pain or you have an injury. It could be a physical therapist if you have muscle imbalances or you have an injury that they can work with. It could be an athletic trainer, maybe to help you reduce an inflammation or reduce swelling or to treat an injury, or it could be any one of those. It could be a sports psychologist, could be a nutritionist. And we have a network of all those people. We work specifically with the best of the best. I had relationships. I was a baseball consultant for St. Barnabas Hospital, and I used to go up there all the time. With Health South, I was a consultant with about a dozen other physical therapy places, nutritionists, sports psychologists. We had a network of all these people, and a lot of times I volunteered my time to them to teach them about pitching mechanics, and just so I could have that relationship with them, so that when one of my players did have an injury, they could get in to see the medical professional who understood what I was doing as a pitching coach, and I understood what he was doing as a doctor or as a physical therapist. Or if there was a mental emotional issue, I could get him with a sports psychologist who understood what I was trying to do as a pitching coach. So he has to have that network, not just a referral list, not just, hey, we send people up to this guy, but a real network of people that they're integrated with, that understand how they teach players, how they instruct players, and to really, create an overall solution for you when you need those solutions. Because when kids can't throw strikes, or kids are struggling, or kids are a little rattled on the mound mentally, their first step is to come to us. And more times than not, in the past, I've referred out to people. It's like, look, you don't need to come to me now. You need to go see the sports psychologist now. Do a couple sessions, then come to me, or you need to see the physical therapist who's going to work on your ankle, because unless that ankle gets freed up, nothing I tell you is going to work. Or your pitches are bad because your release point's off, because your body is fatigued. You need to go see with a strength trainer and get on a program to build endurance so we could repeat your mechanics over and over and over again. The pitching coach that doesn't do that is trying to make himself the only solution. Or for me, and I'll tell you this, all the pitching coaches listening, you will become the go-to guy when you have that network. Because once you have that network, you're going to get the right solutions for your players. Your players are going to do well. You're going to get the credit. The doctor, the physical therapist, the athletic trainer, the sports psychologist, they're not going to get the credit. You're going to get the credit as the pitching coach. So number 2, and again, I'm just listing these, but to me, I think they're all equally important. Number 2, look at credentials Don't look at credentials, look at character. Anytime a coach puts in front his credentials, I played in the major leagues, I'm a D1 coach, I coach this part, run for the hills if they lead with their credentials, because what they're trying to do is look at my credentials, don't look at me. Anytime they are telling you about that first, that is a warning sign, because they are saying, because I was this in a past life, you should now listen to me in this present life. No. Some of the best pitching coaches I've ever met and ever worked with never played the game. And it doesn't make a difference whether a guy played professional or played in the major leagues. If they're leading with their credentials, I would run. Look at their character. How do you find their character? You sit in on their lessons. If they will not let you sit in on their lessons, run. We're going to talk about this a little bit later, but you should sit in on 3 or 4 different lessons with different types of pitchers. Show up when they're working with a 9-year-old, show up when they're working with a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old. If they only work with a certain age group, ask to show up with a variety of different pitchers. Do you have a righty? Do you have a tall kid? Do you have a lefty? Audit that pitching coach's session. Too many times we're just making a decision based on, well, here's the pitching coach at our local academy that the high school coach said to go to. Let's just go to him. Or this is a guy, he played 2 years in the minors. Let's just go to him. It's also very funny is that we get a lot of pitching coaches who he played 2 years in the minors but blew out his arm and now he's giving pitching lessons. So look at character, don't look at credentials. Watch how he teaches, because it's not always about the information, as we know with coaches, right? It's about, are you a good instructor? Can you communicate with players? Can you get them to understand what you're trying to say? It's not all just about the experience or the instruction. There's another part of it, like it's like a little bedside manner to being a pitching coach. Number 2, look at results and reputation. Ask around, right? In the day of social media now, we could do a lot of asking around about guys. But when I say look at results, here's another warning sign. If all they tell you about is their D1 player or the 2 guys that got drafted, run. Because I'm going to tell you, I coach Division I players. I coach draft picks. I coach guys that went on to major leagues. Coached a lot of college players, and I will tell you this. It's honest. Those probably 80, 90% of those players would have achieved everything they achieved had they never met me. It's just the truth, especially the professional players, the D1 players. They would have, I would say probably 100% of those players would have become D1 players or professional players had they never met me. Do I like to think that I made a positive impact on their life? Yes, I do. Maybe I got them to believe in themselves, or I was a stable figure in their life, and that's what I tried to be. But I'm going to tell you, when it comes down to the baseball part of it, they would have made it anyway. So if you're looking at that as their success, that is not their success. I always say God makes the major leaguers, and God probably makes the D1 players too. And so if he's showing you this guy played for Cal State Florida, and this guy played for Texas, and this guy was drafted by the Twins, run, because they are trying to take credit for something that they probably had very little to do with. So what do you want to ask them for? Ask them for the kid that got cut from the freshman team and then made the JV the next year. Ask them for the kid who was not in the starting rotation and you got him in the starting rotation. Or a kid who wasn't in the lineup and now he bats third. Or a kid who was cut from the JV and now he's a freshman at a junior college. Ask them for those types of stories. And don't just ask them for their wild successes. Tell us about the guys that you turned around on an everyday basis. Tell us about things that are hard to do. Because it's easy to stand next to a Division I prospect who throws 90 miles an hour and just take credit for it. I did it once, It's easy to do. It's really hard to take that kid who was just cut from the JV and now he still wants to play and now he's going to go out for the varsity next year or he's going to go out for a travel team, and you got to get him ready and you got to make him a great player, and he made the team. That's the tough work of a coach. Those are the instructors that you want. So look for those types of results from players. Ask them where their philosophy comes from. And be very wary when you hear, well, it's kind of like this, or it's kind of like that, or we use a little bit of this, use a little bit of that. And, it's kind of like it's an individual pitcher and this and that, blah, blah, blah. When you start hearing some runaround, trust your gut on this one. You'll know when you hear kind of some bull runaround. I'm going to tell you that I had the opportunity to sit next to a Division I coach on a plane flight from New Jersey to California to go to the ABCA convention in Anaheim. This is probably 25 years ago. I was a very young coach, and it was just coincidence that I sat next to him. And I I was nervous, and I kind of, asked him, like, what does it take to be a great coach? And I don't think I asked him a second question. He talked for the next 5.5, 6 hours. I like poked him with a pin, and a flood came out, because this guy had philosophy. He had deep-rooted beliefs. He had experience, and he had developed that philosophy and those deep-rooted beliefs based on that experience. It wasn't like, oh, well, we do a little bit of this, we do a little bit of that, or we do this, or we do that. No, this is a deep-rooted philosophy. I love that question. When people ask me, like, what's my philosophy in pitching? I'm like, my friend, come sit right here. Let me pull up my computer. I do a 2-day seminar on pitching. I talk for a week about it if you want me to. So I love that question. When you ask them their philosophy and they kind of run around that, run. That is a sign for you to run. And also, too, we talk about references. You want to ask for some specific references. When you talk to those references, though, ask them, what was special about this coach? What did he do that other coaches don't do? What do you like best about him? What's not your favorite thing about them? Ask around before you put your son with a pitching coach. So again, do they have a network? Look at their character and other credentials. Look at their results and their reputation. Never let them tell you. Focus on their tough success stories. Ask them their philosophy and check the references. And then, the biggest thing too is go back to the pitching coach tricks in the last podcast. When you watch their lesson, are they just doing pitching coach tricks? Are they just going to make your son feel good, Band-Aid and Advil, or are they going to make them good? And part of that too is that you have to tell that coach what you want. Tell them you want to develop a plan, a long-term plan for your son's success, for him to pitch as long as he possibly can, or as long as he wants to, healthy, injury-free, maximizing whatever God-given gifts he has. Tell them that is your objective. And that might mean that you have some lessons that aren't great. Right? It's not all fun and games. If you want to be a bodybuilder and or be a world-class athlete, right, you're going to have some training sessions that are hard, that stink, that don't instantly make you better. And that's how we have to approach a pitching coach when we're choosing a pitching coach. We have to tell them exactly what our objective is, and then go through these steps. So going over to 567dad.com, we have the book, and if you do want to set up a 567 call with me, all the information to do that is there. So have a great week, guys. Thanks for listening, and I will see you back here next week. Thanks.